Dear listeners, there's something strange about the way we move through our days now. We build machines to save us time, and yet time feels more elusive than ever. So we optimize our workflows and automate our routines, but somewhere in all that kind of efficiency, we lose track of the moment that we are actually living in. So what if the very tools we create to master time are teaching us something deeper about presence, about awareness, and about what it means to be human in a world that we are constantly remaking? So, welcome to Mind Meets Machine. I'm your host, Avik, and this is a podcast where we slow down and look carefully at the intersection of technology, consciousness, and what it means to live well in our accelerating world. And today I'm joined by a very lovely guest. Please welcome Matt Thomas. So welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Matt, for joining us today. And dear listeners, before we get into the discussion, I'll quickly love to introduce you with Matt. So Matt is an award-winning tech executive, engineer, farmer, and poet with three traditionally published collections exploring the awareness, time, and how we make our home in both society and the nature. So, Matt, welcome to the show, and it's really, really great to have you here. So,
It's great to be here. It's a great subject.
yeah, exactly. And so, Matt, most people they see the technology and poetry, both are kind of opposites. One rational and another is emotional. So, one fast and another is slow. So, what do you think that split comes from? Like, what does it get wrong here?
Yeah, I think it's a false assumption. The way you described it is very accurate. That's how people look at it. Is one is emotional, poetry's emotional, and machines are not. Machines are efficient. Poetry would be not very efficient. Machines are. And I think it's a misconception about technology and what technology is. Technology is a tool. It's very
Yeah,
human. We created it. It's our tool. It wasn't dropped on us by some alien race, right? To a hammer we've created to suit our purposes, to accomplish some task. So, writing is also a technology. Poetry is a technology. The way you construct a poem has specific rules, and it's a craft. It's a technique. The Greek idea of technique, a practice, an iterative process that you can
mhm,
perfect over time, right? So, to me, there's no difference between writing a poem or an engineering task. They're the same thing. And I think it's important, especially with the advent of AI, that people begin to see technology as ours and not some external threat. And if there is a threat there, and there could be, it's a threat that we've introduced to the world. And the last piece of that is that there's nothing in the world that's unnatural.
exactly.
It's impossible. People say, you know, this is natural and that is not natural. Well, there's human made and or I should say human combined, where we take things that already exist in nature and combine them in a way that does not occur on a regular basis so far in evolutionary nature. And we call that human made. But there's human made, so things that we combine natural elements, and there's natural elements that have combined on their own through time. But that's it. There's no unnatural and natural, only natural.
Got it. So, when you are writing code or building the systems during the day and then turning to the poetry in the evening, does one inform the other, or
They do.
do they do, right? So, I mean, how they feel like, I mean, it's completely separate subjects or kind of.
Well, the thing about poetry is, or the key to poetry is the same to engineering. It's awareness. So if I'm going to write a poem about an event, I don't know, we'll just say walking the dog, then I need to pay attention when I walk the dog in order to write that poem. And I need to understand all the different parts of that journey, from the weather to the way the light plays on different parts of the walk, to the behavior of the dog, to the way I'm feeling, to my body, my steps. What's it sound like? What kind of footing is there? Is it gravel? Is it pavement? Am I wearing sneakers or boots? All those tiny little details, they're all super important to the construction of that poem. And if I'm taking an engineering task, I'm going to write software to do a certain thing. I also have to pay attention to every little part of those requirements. What is this tool going to do for what business process? Is the business process as efficient as it could be? Are there steps in the business process that are going to interrupt the code? Will the code interrupt the business process? How am I designing this? Am I designing it in an elegant way, or am I just throwing the pieces together? That same awareness, it's the same muscle used in an engineering task. And I made it the example of a software engineering task, but it could be a mechanical engineering task as well. And the same muscle to understand and perfect the engineering task is used to understand and perfect the task of assembling the poem, if
Hmm.
that makes sense.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So, I mean, it's really interesting that how we have been taught to compartmentalize these parts of ourselves as if kind of precision and feeling cannot coexist. But maybe that's exactly the divide we need to question. So, that's one. But in your poetry, you explore the time and the awareness. But what do you think, I mean, makes time feel so different now compared to, say, 30 years back? Like, is technology amplifying something that was already there or kind of creating something entirely new? So, what do you have to say?
Yeah, it's a good question. I know it seems like maybe 30 years ago or 50 years ago or whatever, time moved slower than it does now, or our awareness of time was more acute. So we lived more in the moment. I don't know that that's true. I kind of think that since the advent of agriculture, we've been very focused on checking boxes. What needs to be done today? So we need to do this task and then this task and then this task. And I think that um, nowadays we don't question that approach to life at all. We wake up and say, Siri says, whatever phone or gadget we're using, what are you doing today? What do you have to do today? This is what I have to do. I think that we tend to focus on checking the box rather than doing the thing. So if I have to get groceries and then I have to bring them in the house, put them away, and then I've got to go to a meeting and then, whatever I have to do, instead of actually participating in the task and thinking while I'm doing it, okay, so I'm in this meeting. These are my colleagues. Here's the, the temperature in the room, the various emotions of the different people, the desk, whatever there is to notice in that environment. Instead of paying attention to that, we're just trying to get through it. Because once we get through it, we go on to the next task. And then at the end of the day, we can say, oh, I did these 5 things that Siri told me I was supposed to do today. And
Mhm.
I think, long before Siri or phones, and, I'm old enough to remember most of my life, I had no phone or really not even a portable computer or anything like that. So, it was just as hectic back when, I was 14 and no one had a computer than as it is today. And I think 100 years before that, it was just as hectic because all the time we're looking to check those boxes. And who knows, maybe we get to a point technologically where we don't have to check those boxes anymore. Maybe that's the idea.
Yeah, that's a great one. Yeah, that's really great one. Yeah. So if we talk about our daily life, right? So for someone who is moving through their daily life and been caught between the notifications, meetings, and the pressure to always be productive, so how does this disconnection from time and awareness actually show up? Like, what are the small signs people might miss?
I think the key is the way you understand productivity. The odds of being born and living a life on earth are like 1 in 4 trillion. So, I think that productivity is breathing. Productivity is living. You've already accomplished some amazing thing completely by accident. You had nothing to do with it. You were born. And the question is, what are you going to do with it? And the superficial things like, oh, I'm going to earn enough money to buy a yacht, or I'm going to become CEO of the company, whatever. That's all fine. I've got nothing against any of that. But on the way to earning enough money to buy your yacht, or on the way to becoming a CEO, are you going to participate in your life, or are you just going to, watch it zip by the window? And then when you get there, you're a CEO now. Why am I not happy? Why don't I enjoy it the way I thought I would? And then you fix another goal and you say, okay, well, now I need the yacht, right? So now you go after the yacht. But I think that satisfaction, life satisfaction, when you use awareness as a tool, it's very democratic. You don't have to be rich. It doesn't matter who you are. you can enjoy life just as much as literally anyone else on the planet. That's your birthright. And it doesn't matter what your situation, of course, or if your situation is one of constant, life and death on a daily, minute by minute, it might be a little easier for me here, sitting here talking to you to enjoy my life. But other than that kind of extreme situation, you have every much the exact same ability as a Jeff Bezos or someone like that to enjoy every minute of your life just as much. And, to me, awareness is the tool that helps you live fully. So if you, for example, me talking to you, if I'm aware of my surroundings, if I'm aware of this conversation, I'm not just getting through it. If we're actually talking to each other, then that is time well spent. That's time I'll remember. Maybe I learned something. Maybe you learned something. Maybe the people listening learned something. So, to me, slowing down the moment or the way to slow down the moment is to be aware of the moment.
Exactly, I agree. I mean, but it sounds very simple, but noticing is often very hard. It's a very hard part in the life. So I feel that definitely. I believe listeners, if you're listening right now, maybe you are also nodding your head. So yeah, I agree. And we are so conditioned to push through like that we forget we can stop and ask if this moment even needs pushing. So yeah,
Yeah, and that's a really good point. I think that it's very easy to say, be aware, and it's difficult to do because maybe I'm successful like 50% of the day, and that's a good day. So, but that's 50% of my life I just got back. So, to me, whatever amount you're able to retrieve from the day is a good thing. Just trying is a good thing. And the way, other people might develop different tools to help stay in the moment. I use poetry. That's how I stay in the moment. I write. I try to record everything. I try to understand what's actually happening in that piece of my life at that moment. But you might use something else and whatever works for you, whatever helps you to anchor yourself.
exactly. So today, if you have to give one advice to the listeners, what will you give?
That's such a loaded
Yeah,
question. Different things work for different people.
yeah,
But I would say that, I mean, there's never a downside to paying attention at all. You're in a bad situation, paying attention can help you escape. If you're in a good situation, paying attention can help you keep it, enjoy it. And I also think that, there's a lot of value. I write about the idea of home a lot, and home is not a house or a building or anything. It's where you are comfortable. It's where uh, the it's where the idea of where you are and the imaginary place in your head of where you are kind of meet. It's where they match, if that makes any sense. And I think that, the idea of making a home is kind of an antiquated idea that a lot of people don't think about much anymore. But to me, home is a time factory. If you can find a place where you feel at peace, where you have made just the tiniest little scraped out, just a little place for yourself with whatever it takes to do that, then you can slow time down and you can begin to take some of that time management back from your calendar or your scheduling app and things like that.
exactly. And if listeners wants to connect with you, how they can connect?
MattThomasPoetry.com. And there's a lot of free content on there. You can look at it before you buy any of my books and decide, whether you like it or not. It's a kind of a window into the way I think. It's a nice website. MattThomasPoetry.com.
Amazing. So, dear listeners, what I'll do is I'll put all the links, details, everything into the show notes for easy reference. And I'd say, listeners, like the machines we build reflect the questions we carry, and the poems we write reminds us we are still here, still paying attention, still finding our way home. So, thank you so much, Matt, for being here, sharing your knowledge about your poetry, for the work. So, it's really, really great. And thank you, everyone, for being here,
Thank you.
for listening. Yeah. And dear listeners, I hope that this stays with you, not as another thing to do, but as the quiet invitation to notice what's already here. So until next time, take care of your mind and let it meet the world gently. So thank you so much.